So I knew there was something in the Course of Miracles. So Danielle, you had said you were going to really take your snakes through this session. Would you like to take us through this page, if you're still here? Okay.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Thank you.
The continuing decision to remain separated is the only possible reason for continuing guilt feelings. Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Consider,
Profound.
yeah. Consider, when I believe in sin or error, I also believe that I am separate from God. I now act as a fugitive and a wanderer, being in so much fear that I can't feel God's love. Taking the last instance of my feeling guilt, I asked myself.
Let's pause just a moment. Anna, is it clear for you the non-causality of knowing that I can't be separate from God, that what is created is not by me, but through me? Does that make better sense?
It does, yeah. So
Good.
it's the first sentence that, like, the continuing decision to remain separated is the only possible reason for continuing guilt feelings.
Yes.
Like
That's
in what way?
That's when you cause, like I'm Cain, I murdered someone, bad me. And in that story, I remain separated from God. Okay? So whatever bad you have is what you're using to continue staying separated from God. Do you hear that now?
I guess I get in my head about things, because about the world we live in, because like if when it comes to like killing somebody, like where do we stop? Where do we put a line of like, and you understand what I'm saying?
And that's exactly why we have the story of Cain, because that's the biggest possible transgression, murder. And yet the name Cain also means innocent. So what if I were a murderer? And in my experience of murdering, there's actually a show on Netflix called I Am a Killer that brings that home. What if I murdered, and in it I found enlightenment and devoted my life to humanity? So that's the question we're looking at. You have two choices. I am the doer. I am who committed the murder. Bad me, guilty as charged. Or I committed a murder. An error was made, and it was the divine plan. And I'm going to be in service to humanity as
I understand the principle of this. I don't know how soon more people will embrace the idea, especially when it comes to harsher topics like
I'm not interested in other people. I'm interested if you can stop the guilt of what you do with food.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, so that's the question. You're not the doer. You're not the one causing what you're experiencing. That's it. Now, the rest of the world is a different subject. Can you stop the separation from God? can you stop the guilt? So that's the question passed to Anna. Danielle, back at your losing 2 phones. Can you see the divine call in that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. So you had no instance of feeling guilt out of losing your means of communicating with your clients, not only once, but twice. No guilt whatsoever.
No, I would say that it was a process of going to guilt and going, what? Really? Going to shame, really? And it was an opportunity. It was a teaching. It was a learning opportunity, and I was able to watch myself react, and then to say, wait, and then breathe and accept, and to be in a place where I wasn't playing the victim. Like, who the hell am I? Who am I not to have to lose 2 phones? It's like, and I think about what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about litigiousness.
Litigiousness, yes.
Litigiousness. It reminds me of the best definition of codependence, which is a victim. Codependency is victim.
Amen.
And I want someone to treat me better than I treat myself. So why would I harm myself if I lost my phone? And what was the gift and blessing in losing my phone or having it stolen? And can I land there? Like Dispenza says, am I so entranced with the material that a piece of fucking metal and computer, handheld computer, is bigger than who I really am? So it's like this opportunity to always remind myself who I really am and what's really going on here. You know, how can this apparently hard thing, which is really not hard at all, and it's mostly empty. It's like me.
So, Danielle, you speak an amazing language, and you got the words of this lesson, undeniably. In your words, there's still a lot of anger, which says that there's still some resistance. When you speak of a fucking piece of metal and technology, there is anger. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So I am the first one, and I'm your sister. I got the words. I got that done. But for me to be humble enough to recognize that I'm still judging, still resisting, that's another story. So if you permit me to speak to that snake that really, really, really wants to have it all together. Okay. And you already tried, and I use the word tried consciously, to answer the first 3 questions. So I'm going to ask you to read them and not comment on them, but to comment on the 4th bullet point and answer the last question. Okay? So read the 3 bullet point, the 4 bullet points, and focus on the last question.
Might I be making an error in thinking that I was in the wrong? If not an error in thinking, and if I were actually off, is there a way for me to be right this outstanding wrong? How do I use the following thought to further harm myself? I should have listened, since I knew that a bad thing was going to happen. On that note, might I at times be overly responsible? Yes.
Okay. So work with that.
And one of the questions was earlier about my parents. And I know that I'm overly responsible because the way my father lied to my mother and the way my mother projected that my father was something other than he was, that's inside of my over responsibility.
Mm.
Thank you.
You're amazing, Danielle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for who you are. You are blessing all of us as truly in a big way,
Amen.
as each of us are. Michael, please take us through the completion for today.
Yeah, what I'm sitting with is the profound humility that comes from receiving this work, not understanding it. It's there's clearly some very intelligent layouts of what the shadow does when uninvestigated. And it's also readily apparent that we do this, we continue to do this, and we think we understand it. And it feels like we do. The truth is that the completion of this body of work is to actually know it sustainably. And that's a high ideal. And that's what I continue to remind myself of, is that there is a significant piece of work to come to understand wholesome power. And wholesome power is that which requires no explanation at the end of the day. It's just operating through the trees and through the crystals and through the artwork and through this conversation. And so the felt sense of wholesome power, we know when we have it. We also know when we don't. Therein lies the guilt. So my reminder for me and the you that is me and for all of us is the only thing we have to do now is really continue to decide there's really nothing that has a higher value than knowing ourselves. It is truly the only game in town. I mean, what is not better with a good dose of self-knowledge? So I'm eternally grateful. I'm humbled. I'm so grateful for this community and for the work that everybody's doing. I'm curious how Emily is doing and how this conversation was for you today. If you're able to.
I think for me, the living in the spirit of desire, or recognizing that what I desire is not actually what I'm looking at, which could be a shopping addiction, it could be anything. For me, it's the wanting of that feeling of desire and living in that feeling instead of buying the thing I think will make me happy and then not being happy.
Powerful distinction. Powerful. Thank you, Emily.
What are those feelings? Why do we get those feelings? We all get them.
Well, what do you, well, after listening to today, what's your idea?
My idea is surrender.
Well, I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can go bad from a good case of surrender?
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you, Anna. So is that what's your core today? What did you receive overall?
It's the power is in the reaction, I guess. Right
Hmm.
before I came in the meeting, I had just gotten a ticket, like from from traffic law enforcement, and I was like, initially it felt like, it didn't feel right, and I was like, whatever, it is what it is, I kind of let go to it, so I feel fine now.
Thank you, Anna, for being here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Susie, what's the nugget today?
I'm reminded of the root of the word courage, which is cœur, which is heart in French. And I'm just blessed to have seen the softness in everybody's heart today. And it's just a beautiful reminding of how beautiful it is to be human, even if at times it doesn't feel great. It's still a really meaningful thing.
Thank you, Susie. Daniel.
Great. So it's time for me to rest, eat something, and digest, and then rest again. So that's my agenda for the rest of the day.
Rest and digest, Daniel. Maha, keywords.
Socrates. Socrates in Greek means wholesome power. Socrates is also the teacher who is the most known for what's inscribed in Delphi, know thyself. So this whole thing I do about abusing my power and feeling guilty as a result just ties back to the fact that I'm still ignoring who I really am. So I believe there's an end to the poison of ignorance and entitlement. I trust in what the Buddha said. Meanwhile, I patiently take a step after another on the path to the end.
Amen. Wonderful blessings to everyone for a great week. Thanks again for being here. To be continued.
Love you guys.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
rest of your Sunday.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.